Sneaky Goblins are one of, if not the best super troops currently available in Clash of Clans. They have so many different things about them that make them so good, and today we're going to be talking about their rise to becoming this troop that almost everyone loves and uses. But first, I think we need to quickly talk about the normal goblins, because looking at them will really help in showing just why the super troop version was able to be as successful as it is. The goblins were one of the original troops in the game, and their only purpose ever was really to just farm resources. They were really good in the early town hall levels because with enough goblins you actually could 3-star enemy bases. But as you progress further along, the goblins really were just more for farming than anything else. This is because they target resources and did extra damage to anything that had resources inside of it, but they also weren't exactly all that popular since they had strong competition. Troops like wizards or archers were often seen as a better troop to farm resources with because they were ranged and were able to help with things other than just farming. Plus, they would be able to get storages that were behind enemy walls, since goblins were melee troops and that meant they could really only target the outside unless you used jump spells or wall breakers. But realistically, no one would waste that on the goblins because it was just inefficient, and all of this really just created a massive void around the mid to higher town hall levels for goblins, and that situation was that there was basically no point using goblins for farming because they were too weak and really just not good enough or worth using. And this is where the sneaky goblins come in. They were added to the game in March of 2020 and were instantly a much better alternative for the normal goblins. These new sneaky goblins were invisible for a few seconds when they first spawned in, and obviously also did a ton more damage and had a ton more health than the normal goblins. And they do this while only taking 2 more housing space than the normal goblins, which basically makes it a no-brainer for using them for farming. They are able to do enough damage that it really only takes 1 sneaky goblin to destroy 1 other collector, which also means you don't really have to spam them like you do with the other troops that are used for farming. And this is very good considering you can have over 100 sneaky goblins at once in your army, meaning that you can also use them in spam attack, which are quite effective. When they first came out, majority of people obviously used it for farming, and they were just extremely effective. The standard farming strategy with the sneaky goblins mainly consisted of the goblins and jump spells. First, you would deploy them around the base to get everything on the outside, and then you would put down jump spells and slowly let them into the base to get things like the storages. And these went down really quickly as well because of the damage boost the goblins had on resources. And in a lot of cases, people were also able to get the town hall since it holds loot and is considered a target by the sneaky goblins. After doing this, most people usually just left the battle since they got their loot and their trophies, and they could use the leftover goblins to go straight into another battle and farm a ton more resources. And this is what led to people basically being able to farm millions and millions of resources every hour, and made it so that the builders would always be busy with something. And it only cost 25,000 dark elixir for these sneaky goblins, and that made it a really worthwhile investment. And while all the farming is good, people later realized that the sneaky goblins could be used for much more than just farming. They could actually be used in proper attacking strategies. One of these first strategies was a sneaky goblin blimp attack. It is similar to the super archer's blimp attack, except that this one specifically targets the town hall. I mentioned earlier that the sneaky goblins considered the town hall a resource building, and this is what made this whole strategy possible. Basically, what would happen was that you would get the blimp into the base with the Grand Warden ability to make sure it got to the town hall, and then the sneaky goblins would drop from the blimp and target the town hall, and they will be able to get it down really fast because of their damage buff. This was a really good and easy strategy if you wanted to just farm trophies by just getting the town hall each game, or if you didn't have the super archers or wizards unlocked but still wanted to be able to deal damage at the core of the base and get rid of the town hall, which in itself is quite a strong defense. If you don't want to use the sneaky goblins in your battle blimp, then it is also very possible to just use them on the ground for targeting town halls. This is kind of similar to the strategy I was talking about earlier, where the sneaky goblins are used to get rid of all resources in the town hall, but in this case you just need to get rid of enough resource structures so that your sneaky goblins can go into the core of the base. and this is usually done with a mix of haste and jump spells to ensure that the goblins get through fast enough so that they still have invisibility when they reach the town hall. All of this has definitely led to people changing their base design so that the sneaky goblin ambushes are less effective, and this is usually done by just adding more traps around the town hall or trying to place the storages more strategically so that it will take more effort and more goblins to get to the town hall, which could sometimes put off the attacker from attacking your base. And spiral/ring bases are also sometimes effective against the sneaky goblins because they could help confuse their pathfinding AI and make them not go into the center of the base towards the town hall, though in the end it still wasn't actually that effective and people were able to just get around it with just a little bit more planning. The sneaky goblins are honestly just one of the troops that you can't really have any sort of a single effective counter for, and that is what makes it one of the best troops in the game currently. In the 3 years that the sneaky goblins have been out in the game, you can see there has been a massive change, and that change is in the progression of the game. It really feels like everything is moving a lot faster now because you can farm everything super quickly. This really just helps make the game a lot more fun for everyone at 10 or 11 or higher, since 10 or 11 is when you are able to upgrade your goblins to level 7, which is what you need to convert them into the super troop version. And as someone who personally loves just spamming the sneaky goblins, I can say that they're the biggest reason I was able to go from 10 or 11 to an almost max 10 or 12 relatively fast. Obviously there are a bunch of other factors at play, but overall I'd say it's the sneaky goblins that had the biggest impact because they really just made it so easy to max out your resources in a pretty short period of time, especially if you had training potions that just made training them so much faster, which also meant you could use more in a smaller period of time. And heroes also don't really even matter with sneaky goblin farming attacks, so you don't even have to wait on them between attacks. All of this has really just made the sneaky goblins become the absolute best troop in the game when it comes to farming, and they're still definitely one of the best troops out there just in general because they can be used to target the town hall. In a lot of cases, you would obviously rather just use a sneaky archer blimp, but there are specific cases where the sneaky goblin blimp is a better choice. But regardless of that, you can obviously just use them on the ground with haste and jump spells. In fact, this strategy has been used by some pro players in tournaments where they use it to destroy max level town halls, and this all shows how the sneaky goblins are really just such a versatile troop. But that is it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of the sneaky goblins down in the comments, and if you like to use them or if you have some other sort of farming troop you prefer.